Chapter 4. Greta. Abraham could always salve the disappointments of X with his pride and joy, Greta. When C told Greta of X's latest disastrous report, she wasn't surprised. She had spent the last year desperately trying to keep Abilene alive in hopes that X would finally stop being a stain on their important name. But he hadn't. "She's too young to be so frail," Abraham said as he traced the blue veins of his Abilene's icy hand. Across the bed, Greta stood. Wise and well-educated, she apprenticed with the best healers on the Isle, then the rest of the world, then back again. If anyone could save Abilene, she could. But some foreign illness had taken hold of Abilene, and only ancient Western herb remedies showed any efficacy. Despite months of increasingly desperate attempts, Abilene, Abby as Abraham called her, would likely die. Greta had been at their wedding just over 7 decades ago. She had delivered their 4 children. None survived. Abraham never blamed Abby or Greta for these failures. The planet, this world, it fought them, and it won. Abilene's death wasn't just another body failing. With her, the last hope for the Homo sapien race and all they meant to the stability of the kingdoms died as well. Coming around the foot of Abby's bed, Greta offered her forearm to brace Abraham as he rose from Abby's bedside. As she helped her father to his feet, Greta's mind wandered. She couldn't help but think of the rumors of the Mortadell mother, rumors that seemed more and more like distant fairy tales. As she helped him silently shuffle through the corridor from Abby's room to his office, she glanced at her reflection in a passing window, catching herself in profile and, for a moment, imagining herself. No, ridiculous. "How do you plan to tell the kingdoms?" she blurted out. "I don't," he replied. Greta frowned, sensing the tension beneath her father's nonchalance. He never avoided hard truths unless they frightened him. Still, the number of voices who spoke candidly with him were dying out. She had a responsibility to the entire world, no matter how bitter politicking tasted in her mouth. "You know how they'll talk," he sighed as he sunk into the chair at his desk. "They should retell what happened last time they gossiped. It was a Noski generation removed. They don't remember. Then we should train new historians," he snapped. Greta recognized this reaction in her father. Fear. If the other kingdoms discovered Abby's death, it would mean war. The Forest had long sought any sign of weakness on the Isle to attack. Abby's death would be that signal, a bright, shining signal. "Our history has fallen out of favor," she replied as diplomatically but honestly as she could. "My dear, wise Greta," he said, cupping his hand to beckon her cheek. His voice wavered as he spoke, betraying the weight of it all. The extinction of his race, the failure of his great promise. Even after a century and 6 decades, she couldn't resist the sound of her name in his ancient accent and the softness of his palm. Barely anyone called her G, the custom created to minimize Mortadell people, least of all her father, who had championed her and her mind tirelessly in every room she stood in or did not. For this and so much more, Greta loved her father. She knelt at his feet, placing her face in his palm. Loyal since birth, Greta had served at his side on the Isle as head healer for the past century. She had laid many humans to rest, very old to very young. Despite their complicated relationship, Abby would be no different to Greta. Abby hated Greta, like most women hate their husband's Mortadell children. For some, the hatred rooted in jealousy. They wanted all their husband's seed for themselves, and the idea of him wasting it on a Nazca was unacceptable. For others, it was envy. Mortadell females would never be forced to bear doomed children. They were exempt from that pain. While many female Mortadells mourned their barrenness, Greta never did. It was the only secret she had ever kept from her father. To her, the invisible threat that haunted women like Abby was a curse she was grateful to be spared from. Greta never paid Abby's tantrums mind. Poor Abby was young and bore the future of the species on her delicate shoulders. Greta dutifully served her father to help Abby conceive viable children. When those children died within their first 2 years, Abby blamed G, called her names, and demanded she be replaced. Once, Abby, furious after a miscarriage, had thrown a surgical tray through a cabinet and broke 22 vials in the process. Greta had calmly stuck the still ankle-strapped Abby with a sedative and then cleaned up. After, Greta kept exploring remedies and letting Abby's cold glares and slanderous accusations behind her back roll off her shoulders. As long as she had Abraham's protection, her purpose continued. "Father," Greta said adoringly, "I wish I had specialized in genetics to solve this mystery for you. I believe it's in the right hands with your brother. How can I be of more service to you, Father? Child, you exceed every demand." Return to Abby's side. She kissed his palm. Then as she attempted to rise, her knees ached in resistance, requiring her to use Abraham's knee to hoist up from the ground. Alas, the mortality of my mortadels makes the quest even more urgent. I can't see you go and think you are the end of it. As she returned to Abby, she thought about the absurdity of her father's final dream. The Forestian rumors of the Mortadel mother must be a farce. Why would someone claim such a feat of scientific accomplishment only to remain in the shadows? And if X had truly found the genius behind it, why did that Lucas character fail to answer her very basic questions correctly? Greta looked at Abby, half her age, dying in this clinical, drab den. Again, she caught her reflection in the glass, pausing for a moment. Pantomiming a swollen belly, she almost laughed at the absurdity. A 162-year-old pregnant mortadel? Ridiculous. Everyone had their place, and she rejoiced that this fool's errand to chase a fictional mortadel mother sat with her fooliest sibling, while she sat at the bedside of humanity's final ember.